Jonah was a good man. He loved God. One day God spoke to Jonah. "Jonah," God said, "I have a big job for you." God wanted Jonah to go to Nineveh. Nineveh was a wicked city. The people there were not kind. God wanted Jonah to tell them to change their ways. Jonah was scared. "Nineveh?" he thought. "That's a long way, and the people there are so mean." Jonah didn't want to go. So Jonah decided to run away. He packed his bag and went down to the sea. He found a ship going in the opposite direction of Nineveh. Jonah got on the ship. He thought he could hide from God. As soon as the ship sailed away, a huge storm came. The wind howled. The waves crashed against the ship. The sailors were scared. They thought the ship would sink. They prayed to their gods for help, but the storm just got worse. Jonah was down below deck, fast asleep. The ship's captain found him. "What are you doing sleeping?" he shouted. "Get up and pray to your God! Maybe he will save us!" Jonah knew this storm was his fault. He had disobeyed God. Jonah told the sailors to throw him overboard. "The storm is my fault," he said. "If you throw me into the sea, the storm will stop." The sailors didn't want to, but the storm was getting worse. Finally, they threw Jonah overboard. As soon as they did, the storm stopped. The sea became calm. But Jonah wasn't alone. As Jonah sank down into the deep water, a giant whale swam by. The whale opened its huge mouth and swallowed Jonah whole. Jonah found himself in the dark, smelly belly of the whale. It was slimy and wet, and he was all alone. Jonah was scared. He knew he had done wrong. He knew he should have obeyed God. So Jonah prayed. He prayed for 3 days and 3 nights. He asked God to forgive him. He promised to obey God if he ever got out of the whale. God heard Jonah's prayer. He had been watching over Jonah the whole time. God told the whale to go back to the shore. The whale swam to the land and opened its mouth wide. Whoosh! Out popped Jonah onto the sand. Jonah was so happy to be free. He learned his lesson. He knew that he must always obey God. Jonah went to Nineveh and told the people what God had said. To Jonah's surprise, the people listened. They were sorry for their sins and asked God to forgive them. Because they listened to Jonah and obeyed God, God forgave them. God had given Jonah a second chance, and Jonah learned that it is always best to obey God right away. He learned that God is always with us, even when we make mistakes, and that God forgives us when we say sorry.